Hello, Nightmare fans. Deandra here, and on this week's edition of Elm Street Radio, I am going to be talking about what is considered canon in the A Nightmare on Elm Street universe. The discussion on what is canon in the A Nightmare on Elm Street series has been going on with fans for some time. We often use it to talk about different theories or to put together fan fiction, fan films, our own novels, anything of that nature. And canon is just about as close to fact as you can get in a fictitious universe. So all things canon for A Nightmare on Elm Street are considered a part of the official storyline. And they not only include the films, which are the holy grail of A Nightmare on Elm Street canon, even though we might not always agree with what happened to them at Nancy's death, they are the official storyline, which sucks sometimes because we don't agree with it, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. However, there are some other materials that have been approved by New Line Cinema and are also considered canon. There was a little bit of confusion with certain materials when licensing deals were being made in the 1980s because New Line Cinema didn't really get involved and take an active role in the approval process until 1990. So, as I stated, the films are canon, but there's also the Nightmares on Elm Street comic book series by Innovation Publishing, which includes an idea that Wes Craven had introduced in his original script for Dream Warriors, which is the idea of Nancy being alive after death within the beautiful dream as the polar opposite to Freddy. She's the guardian of the good dreams, and Freddy, of course, is the nightmare master. So that is a great concept, which I know a lot of Nancy fans are super happy about, myself included. There is also the Freddy Krueger's Tales of Terror by Tor Books. That includes Blind Date, Fatal Games, Virtual Terror, Twice Burned, Help Wanted, and Deadly Disguise. Then there is the A Nightmare on Elm Street comic book series by Avatar Press, and that includes the special, which came out in 2005. It's just one issue. Then there is A Nightmare on Elm Street Paranoid, which is 3 issues, and then A Nightmare on Elm Street Fear Book, which is 1 issue. Of course, there are the Black Flame novels that came out for this series. I know a lot of people have them, myself included. They are Suffer the Children, Dream Spawn, Protege, Perchance to Dream, The Dream Dealers, and Ripped from a Dream. So if you own those, they are considered canon. Then there's the Wild Storm, A Nightmare on Elm Street comic book series. They do have a couple of different comic book series, but there's one that came out in 2006. It is an 8-issue series. There's also a volume 1 in there, and then there is, which is not really listed as being canon, the New Line Cinema's Tales of Horror, which is Freddy vs. Leatherface. That's pretty darn awesome. And although listed is only A Nightmare on Elm Street, those comics. And then Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. And we all love that, so that's actually considered canon in the Nightmare universe. But the sequel, Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, The Nightmare Warriors, it's taking many liberties with the established canon, and it's not really clear how the story can be reconciled with either the Nightmare series or the Friday the 13th series. And then there are some episodes of Freddy's Nightmares which are considered canon because they can offer altered backstories or altered dates that don't really go along with the films. And as I mentioned, films, it's like the supremacy clause of the Constitution. Excuse my nerdiness, but like the federal laws are supreme to the state laws, the films are supreme to anything else. And then there's also a few other materials out there, but they are not considered canon in this universe. So, there you have it. Those are the entries into the A Nightmare on Elm Street series, which are considered to be officially part of the A Nightmare on Elm Street storyline. A lot of this information can be found at nightmareonelmstreetfilms.com. Bonus, you will actually be able to read a lot of the comics on nightmareonelmstreetfilms.com as well, and I encourage you to check those out. A little bit of Elm Street Radio groundskeeping. This episode was supposed to come out on a Friday, but had a little bit of technical difficulty, so it comes out on a Saturday. But every episode will be coming out on a Friday, Freddy Krueger Friday. And next week, we will be having, and by we, I mean myself and my new co-host, Paige Joy. Paige is a beauty vlogger, a filmmaker, a writer, a huge A Nightmare on Elm Street fan, and one of my best friends in the world, and to top it all off, a complete and total badass. She's the new co-host for Elm Street Radio, so please do welcome her on board. Next week, Paige and I are going to be speaking with Roberto Lombardi. Roberto is best known for his role as Freddy Krueger in the A Nightmare on Elm Street fan films Krueger Tales from Elm Street, that's a series, and The Nightmare Ends on Halloween. Those are on YouTube, and I encourage you to check them out if you have not already. I am a huge fan of them, and I'm very happy to have Roberto on next week. We will be discussing A Nightmare on Elm Street as a series, and especially the Freddy Krueger storyline and Roberto's role as Freddy Krueger. And hopefully you will tune into that next week. In the meantime, take your Hypnosil and remember, whatever you do, don't fall asleep.